I'll be making an Ohara Heika arrangement in the upright style using two materials. The first material I'll be using is this cherry branch, which I'll use for the subject and secondary and its fillers. And then I have a single flower chrysanthemum, which I'll use for the object group. So let me get started with the subject branch. And I've already cleaned most of it. I've done most of the trimming. You don't want to do all the trimming before you get started because you may discover something you trimmed would have actually looked better had you left it. So I'll trim a little bit more once I insert this. So I'm going to have to put a crossbar. The crossbar is actually going to hit the container down towards the bottom of the vase. So let me make sure I have the right, I think so. And I'm going to use a crossbar of the same branch. I've split it in half because I don't need a big round crossbar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slice into the branch, hold it, and then insert the crossbar. And what's important is that the crossbar be inserted firmly, which means it holds the main branch. If it's too loose, it's not going to do any good. Now, I think it's still a little too long. I'm going to insert, let it hit the wall slightly to your left and slightly forward, and then release. Maybe like that. Okay. The secondary branch then is going to be about 2/3 the length of the subject. And it's going to actually be inserted in front of your subject branch. And it's going to go more than halfway down. This is all the way down. This is straight up. Halfway down, a little bit more. And slightly towards your left shoulder. So somewhere here, which means it's going to hit the vase back here. I'm going to remove all these little side branches and flowers because they'll be underwater and you don't want the leaves and flowers to be below the rim of the container and definitely not in the water. Okay. I think I need this little side branch. I'm also cutting it at an angle so that when I put it in, it hits the back of the container and it's flush. Now, I'm noticing that this is spinning a little bit, so what I'm going to have to do is maybe change the angle. See if that helps. Nope, it's still. So I'm going to use a vertical bar, a vertical stake. And in this case, I'm going to notch it, so there's a notch there. And then I'm going to cut a vertical slit at the bottom, hold it open, insert it, and so it will hit the back of the container and then the front of the container. So, and hopefully that will get it to stay in place. Okay, so I have my subject and secondary, and now for my object group, I'm going to use this chrysanthemum. And the object is right straight in the middle and down almost all the way, a little less. So it's 80 degrees down. And its length is about half the length of the subject. And when we talk about these lengths, we're really talking about from the rim of the container to the top of the branch. From the rim to the top of the branch. We're not including what actually goes in. So when we say half, we're measuring here and then adding several inches. Okay, in this case, we want it about there. And I can see this is going to spin. So this is where it's going to hit the wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it upside down, and I'm going to crush the stem. Okay, I'm going to cut this. And by crushing the stem, I'm now able to use its own stem as a vertical stay. So again, I'm going to put it in till it hits the back of the wall, position it, and then let it go. Okay. Maybe a little too many leaves. I hate to cut them off, but if they're in the way, we need to. Okay. So now that we have our three main stems, we're going to add the fillers. And one filler will be right here, the object glow filler. And that's going to help blend the two materials. There's some space between the object and the secondary, so we want to fill in that space. So I think I will use another chrysanthemum with some leaves. And again, it's going to hit the wall, and so I've cut it at an angle. I'm now going to insert it and just let it stay. Now another thing we have to do is we have to help the subject and the secondary sort of blend in a little bit more. There's a big space here, and that's where we're going to use a middle filler. So I'm using this cherry, and because it's a big space, you can use material that's a little heavier. So there are a lot of buds on this branch. And in this case, I'm just cutting at an angle so that when I insert it, it'll be flush against the wall. And I'm hoping that's all I need to do, that I will not need another stay. Okay, that works out. Now the next stem I'm going to add is the object group's tall filler. And there's no rule. You can actually, if you think it's better, you can actually add the subject tall filler. But in this case, let me go with the object tall filler. This is where it'll hit the wall. Yeah, that's about right. And I'm going to see if just inserting it by itself will hold it in place. Okay. Now I'm going to add the subject tall filler. And for the subject tall filler, you want it to be a light branch. You don't really want it to compete with the subject. And it's going to flow forward. So, which tells me I may want to cut this there. Okay. So I've cut it at an angle again, and I'm going to insert it in this back upper left corner. Okay, there's one final step. There's one final stem, which is the low filler or cascading filler. And it helps break up the rim of the container so that you don't see all of the rim. And that should be something, ideally, that would flow down like This one is just inserted. And let's have it cascade down just a little bit. So that's an Ohara tall vase upright style arrangement.